In 1908, in Austria, a worker digs up a little stone figure of a woman that fits in your palm. She has no face, but she has wide hips, a heavy belly, and full breasts, carved in obsessive detail 30,000 years ago. We call her the Venus of Willendorf, and for a century people argued one thing. Is this what ancient humans found beautiful? Which hides a stranger question. You look at a total stranger and decide attractive or not in about a tenth of a second, faster than a thought. So what is that snap judgment for? And were ancient humans, by their own eyes, attractive at all? Let's start with that instant reaction, because it feels shallow, and it absolutely is not. When you look at a face, your brain runs a scan in milliseconds, and it is not asking, is this person hot? It's asking a much older question. Is this body healthy, and are its genes any good? And it reads that off a handful of clues you never consciously notice. The first is symmetry. A face where the left and right sides match closely is rated more attractive almost everywhere on Earth, across cultures that never met. Why? Because building a symmetrical body is hard. Every illness, every parasite, every bad gene during development nudges you slightly off-center. So a symmetrical face is basically a certificate that says, this body followed its blueprint without a single major error. The second clue is skin, clear. Even skin signals you're not fighting off disease right now. The third is what scientists call averageness. Weirdly, a face that looks like the average of many faces is judged more beautiful, because average quietly means a wide, healthy mix of genes with nothing rare and broken hiding inside. This isn't even something you learn. Hand a newborn just a few days old 2 faces, and it will stare longer at the more symmetrical one. The test switches on before you can talk. Charles Darwin gave this whole machinery a name: sexual selection. The idea that we don't just survive, we choose, and those choices sculpt the species. So when your ancestor glanced across a firelit camp and felt a pull toward one person and not another, they weren't being superficial. They were reading a live health report written in a face, in a tenth of a second. Now let's go below the neck, because the body sent its own signals. In 1993, psychologist Devendra Singh found that men, across wildly different cultures, tended to rate the same female waist-to-hip ratio as most attractive, right around 0.7, a defined waist under wider hips. And it's not random. That exact ratio tracks closely with fertility and long-term health. The attraction was, again, the body reading a fertility signal it didn't have to understand. But here's the part that matters, and the part that should make you relax a little. The amount of body that counted as beautiful flipped completely depending on the world you lived in. For almost all of human history, the constant threat wasn't overeating, it was starving. In that world, a fuller, heavier body wasn't a flaw. It was wealth. It meant you had access to food, that you could survive a lean winter, that you had the reserves to carry a pregnancy all the way through, which is very likely why the Venus of Willendorf looks the way she does. She isn't fat. She's a survival resume carved in stone, a body that shouts, this one will make it, and men were graded too. Muscle, the scars of a survived hunt, skill with a spear, standing in the group. These were a man's resume, all saying the same thing. I can provide, I can protect, I'm worth building a life with. Ancient beauty wasn't decoration. It was a public CV of your health and your usefulness worn on the body. And confidence itself was part of the raid. The person who walked into camp sure of their place looked healthy, high status, and safe to build a life with. Some things about attraction really haven't changed at all. But ancient humans didn't just accept the body they were handed. They decorated it. In Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found tiny seashells, deliberately pierced with a bone tool and strung together. Some smeared with red ochre, roughly 75,000 years old, and some shell beads may go back over 100,000. That's the oldest known jewelry on Earth, and quite possibly the oldest makeup. Think about what that means. Humans have been getting ready, painting themselves red, stringing beads, signaling, look how much effort I put in. Look at my skill, look at which group I belong to. For 75,000 years. Your morning routine has a very, very long history. Darwin saw the same logic in the peacock, a tail that huge is useless for survival, but it screams, I'm so healthy I can afford to waste energy on this.
Look at my effort.
A string of polished shell beads was our peacock tail. Proof you had the time, the skill, and the health to spare on looking good. Now, some of you are thinking, okay, so beauty is just hardwired universal biology? Case closed. Not so fast. Because the actual standards flip wildly. Pale skin was prized in one place and time, deep tan in another. Being heavier was the ideal for millennia, then thinness took over in a blink. A unibrow was painted on as gorgeous in some cultures and plucked into oblivion in others. What stays constant isn't the look. It's the question underneath the look. Are you healthy? Are you fertile? Are you worth investing in? And here's the twist that should genuinely surprise you. The single most powerful signal might not be visual at all. In 1995, a scientist named Klaus Wedekind had men wear the same t-shirt for 2 nights, then had women smell them. The women consistently preferred the scent of men whose immune genes were the most different from their own, because mixing 2 different immune systems gives a baby the strongest possible defenses. Your nose was screening for genetic compatibility, running a background check your conscious mind never even saw. So beauty was never really about looking good. It's a test, a health and fertility inspection your body runs on its own, wearing the mask of desire. So go back to that little stone woman from Austria. Maybe she has no face because the face was never the point. She's 30,000 years of survival pressed into stone, asking the only questions that used to matter. Can this body last through winter? Carry a child? Keep the line going. And every time you feel that instant wordless pull toward a stranger, before you know their name, before they say a word, that isn't vanity, and it isn't modern. It's the same ancient exam, still scanning for health and life behind your eyes, faster than you can think. The standards will keep flipping. Thin, thick, pale, tan. Every century is completely sure it finally discovered the right one, and every century is wrong. The mirror is new. The judgment behind it is 300,000 years old. So were ancient humans attractive? To each other, absolutely. Because attractive never actually meant flawless, or thin, or perfect. For almost the entire human story, it meant something much simpler and much kinder than the version we torture ourselves with today. It just meant healthy, alive, and here. For more on how your instincts were really built, subscribe. This is Sketchient. And if you want to know what those same ancient humans did once that pull turned into something more, how they actually fell in love, watch this next.